The
But we
minute
did
he
get
said
one.
that, it stopped.
Okay, we are at that time. I'm going to give the YouTube a few seconds to load up.
The
But we
minute
did
he
get
said
one.
that, it stopped.
Okay, we are at that time. I'm going to give the YouTube. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter what time zone you are in, welcome to Leaders Worldwide. If you are a guest, please rename yourself, or if you have a role tonight, please put your role in the title. I am Isaac Ford, the Sergeant at Arms. Club mission: we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. The motto: Toastmasters motto is respect, integrity, service, and excellence. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our acting president, Isaac Ford. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Isaac. I am the acting president today, and we have a great meeting in store. It's about inspiration. And I, after 20 years, finally went to a Toastmasters conference. And that really inspired me to become a better Toastmaster. I had really never experienced it. So if you've never been to a conference, I suggest you strongly go. Now, we have a few guests, so I would like them to introduce themselves. First, we have Pravina and Viket. So if you could introduce yourself.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Venkat Raman. I belong to City Speech Toastmasters, and I also happen to be a Division I director this year. And I'm happy to attend the Leaders Worldwide open house. I'm all ears.
Great, thank you. And
And
who's
this
that
is-
sitting next to you?
This is Pravina. I am also from City Speech Toastmasters. I am the VPE this year. And I'm looking forward to hearing the talk and experiencing Leaders Worldwide. I've heard a lot about your club from Cynthia's talk.
Great, thank you. And our next guest is Elios. He's at work, but Elios, can you open up your mic and introduce yourself? I guess he cannot.
Elios left a little earlier.
Oh, okay. So, and our next guest is Essie. Essie, would you introduce yourself and let us know how you ended up here?
Hi, everyone. My name is Essie Gardner. I'm from Kingston, Jamaica.
Cool.
I have been in Toastmasters for a few years and I have served in various capacities, including as region advisor a couple of years ago.
Great.
I am part of a WhatsApp group, which includes a number of your meetings. And when I saw this one today, I determined that I needed to be here tonight. So I'm very, very pleased to be here for your open house. I'm looking forward to it indeed.
Great, thank you for that. And our next guest, who's a visiting guest, then I'd like to introduce Roger. So Roger, if you would let us know who you are and.
Yes, my name is Roger Swenson. I've been a member of Toastmasters for 43 years. I belong to 5 clubs in the Boston and Cambridge, Massachusetts area. So I've been an area governor 5 times, division governor twice.
Wow.
Since the clubs went virtual, I've been going all over the United States and other countries virtually. So pretty well familiar with Toastmasters.
Well, great. It's good having you here. And next guest is Kamala. Kamala, would you turn on you have your video on and introduce yourself?
Sure.
My name is Kamala Tyagarajan, and I am part of City Speech Toastmasters in Fremont, California. Pravina Raman, who just spoke earlier, she had sent information about this meeting, and I thought it'd be really interesting to attend. I'm also the VPPR of our club.
Great, great. Thank you for that. And Joseph, you just joined. Joseph, would you, if you can, share your video and let us know a little bit about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Former member here. Was coming by because it's been a while and I want to listen to the keynote speaker and keynote speech tonight. Been busy with work and with district leadership over in District 35, which is Wisconsin Upper Michigan.
Great, thank you for that, Joseph. And now what you've all been waiting for to get this meeting on the road. I'd like to introduce our outstanding Toastmaster today, Michelle Pedicolis. Michelle, you got the gavel.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, I've got it already unmuted. Thank you, Isaac. For some reason, my script got stuck to my mouse, so that wasn't very helpful. Okay, so thank you for the kind introduction. I want to thank you, Mr. President or Acting President, fellow Toastmasters and guests for being here tonight. As Toastmaster of the day, I would like to give you a brief overview of the lay of the land for our meeting today. We have 4 parts. The first part, which is what has attracted a number of you, is our keynote speaker, who I'm going to be introducing later on. The keynote speech will be about 15 minutes. It will not be evaluated. There will be a question-answer session afterwards for about 5 minutes, and Kathleen Peel will be facilitating the QA session. The second part is prepared speeches. We have 1 speaker today with an extra long speech, and she will later receive an evaluation. The third part is impromptu. Rosemary Sweeney is our table topics master, and she will be asking questions. This is an opportunity for our guests to participate in the meeting and give short speeches from 1 to 2 minutes. And finally, the fourth part is evaluation. Our evaluation team will give us timing, a grammarian report, and the individual evaluator will give an evaluation of our prepared speech. I will then return control of the meeting to our acting president before we conclude for the day. The theme for today, as our acting president pointed out, is inspiration. Inspiration. It comes from the Latin word inspiritus, or inspiratus, excuse me, inspiratus. And it means either in spirit or spirit within, because in is inside and spiratus, it refers to spirit. So inspiration for many, 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 many centuries was associated with divine intervention or divine connection. It is also associated with breath. So of course we have inspiration when you breathe in and expiration when you breathe out. And interestingly, many, many spiritual practices or spiritual groups utilize the breath as part of their practice, as a way to connect to that divine energy and inspiration. I would now like to introduce our timer, Kathleen Peel. Kathleen, would you like to give us the guidance for timing for the keynote speaker?
Yes, the keynote is up to 15 minutes, and the way the timer works is to show a green card, meaning you've got 2 minutes to go at 13 minutes, yellow at 14, red at 15, and the tradition is that the speaker has 30 seconds to wrap up, as other jobs in Toastmasters.
Thank you, Kathleen. And now I would like to invite Sally Reyes, who is our grammarian, to come and give us the word of the day.
Thank you so much. Our favorite word to fit in to our theme is expand. Because when we're inspired, we can expand our awareness and judgment. And it's a verb, continuous change. Inspiration will cause you to expand and develop. So I'm looking forward to keeping track how many people can grasp and reuse this word. Thank you very much.
And would you take a moment to talk about the other part of the grammarian role, what you're also going to be keeping an eye on?
You're right. I get to keep track of the oohs, ahs, ums, and buts, and those oddly put in words into your speech that causes you to use time, unfortunately, in a bad way. So we kind of remind you so we can get rid of those filler words that you don't need. And in a nice way, we'll say, whoop, you did 13 of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. Next, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, who is the great commander, military expert, Linda Patton. And the title of her speech is The World of a Conference Planner. Linda began her conference planning while still in the Army with the Army Scientific Advisory Panel. She learned the challenging world of top secret attendees. She has planned and implemented conferences and meetings from 5 to 1,000 attendees, including the International Society for Political Psychology, and I don't know how this is pronounced, Cat de Sol or Kate Sol, CATESOL. She will perhaps tell us what that means. And her knowledge of the working of meetings and conference is rich and extensive. And after her speech and the QA, we will have a short break. I would like again to introduce Linda Patton, The World of a Conference Planner, The World of a Conference Planner, Linda Patton.
Okay, we're here. I've been a conference planner almost as long as I've been a speaker, which means I didn't start till after college. My very, very first conference was, as Michelle said, the Army Scientific Advisory Panel. You had hundreds.
Linda, would you come a little bit closer to the microphone? We need to have you a little more audible. Thank you, my dear.
Okay, but it's not going to support me. Okay.
Your first conference, sorry.
I was a mere second lieutenant at the time, and my general said to me, I want you to manage my conference. It must run absolutely smoothly. We must have no breaches of secret documents and all that good stuff. So what I learned there was how to plan, how to look at the sessions that were occurring, to have people in place to sit outside the room and let people in. But when they came out, we also had to clear the room. We took all the documents that were in the room and shredded them. And we ran dogs through the auditorium to make sure that there weren't any bombs underneath the seats. Now, not only did we run the conference itself, but they brought their families. So I had to do spousal events, which meant taking them to Williamsburg, taking them up to Roanoke, wherever they wanted to go. If they wanted to go shopping, we went to the shopping mall. And it was 2 weeks long. That's a long time to have a conference, which also meant that in the mid-weekend, they went home. So then we had to do all the pickup and bring them back in once again when they got there. So I learned a lot of really great things about conferences and how to help them run smoothly. One was to make sure you had clear goals and objectives. And there were extremely serious goals and objectives because these people reported back to the president the plans that they saw that we needed to have in order to move forward. Run forward quite a ways, and my next major conferences were with the International Society of Political Psychology, ISPP. They were all brainiacs. Most of them were professors. A lot of them were PhDs who thought that they were God. And because of that, we had to be real careful about how we dealt with them because they brought their own minions with them to make sure that their baggage was carried appropriately. The fun thing about this was the international piece. Sure, we started in Seattle and we did Portland and San Francisco. We did Boston in the US, but overseas we did Toronto, Dublin, Lund, Sweden, Paris, Barcelona, and Berlin. In each case, I got a chance to fly there at least 3 times before the conference itself. One was to choose, was this the right place to go? And if so, what venue did we choose? So that was all part of the planning. We also had to know, were there great places to have the awards banquet and other social events? And what about trips for people around the city or around the country? Were there good opportunities for that as well? So it was really, really important for me to document everything that I saw because I presented that to the committee for them to choose where they wanted to go. They also wanted to know what were the downsides for any one of those conferences. The cool part was getting to do all of that travel. However, I swear I needed roller skates because we were usually spread across a college campus. And that meant if I needed to be in another room, I had to run to get there. I never had roller skates, but I thought afterwards, that would have been a really good idea, have roller skates or a scooter or something that would move me a whole lot faster. The one major complaint the last round was we didn't have free Wi-Fi. Well, I'm sorry, but Dublin didn't have free Wi-Fi. So those are some of the things that we learned as we moved along. I also had to build the book exhibit. So we went out to publishers and to the participants themselves to bring their papers and put them in the book exhibit so that people could buy them after they heard their presentation. The books, we were hoping that they'd purchase their books for their classes. Well, they did, but unfortunately they did it through an order blank that didn't come through us. So we didn't get credit for them and we didn't get any of the dollars for it, which was kind of a downer. What I found was, though, for many years, we had just a very vibrant exhibit. There were just a ton of really great books, and the speakers' papers were just very erudite. We loved looking at them and reading them when we had nothing else to do. And then we went digital. God, was that a mistake? Because all of the papers were then online and we didn't sell them. We gave them away and people didn't come in to look for books because they could also get the books digitally on the computer. And it was really sad for me to watch that aspect of the conference go away. We also got a chance to bring in various people from keynote organizations to be able to speak at the keynote sessions that we had. I loved working with ISPP. I was really sad when we ended that relationship. And yet I really didn't want to go to Istanbul. And I was really having a hard time, believe it or not, with Israel, because at that particular point in time, there were bombs going off in school buses and that kind of thing. And I thought it may not be a really safe place to bring several hundred US professors whose job it was to evaluate political psychology. I did get to do something really phenomenal while I was there. I had said to the conference director for that particular year, we did have one professor who worked with us, and I said, wouldn't it be great? We're here in Berlin to bring together our German instructors and our Israeli instructors and have them do a meeting where they could talk about their perception of World War II and how they saw it, and to perhaps be able to heal that wound between the two organizations. And it was probably one of the most powerful sessions that I have ever done and I have ever seen. And everyone in the room was in awe of what each of the sides thought of the other, and the things that they thought had gone on that hadn't or had, and really got to the heart of each of the delegates. It's not often that you get a chance to bring together such diverse individuals to be able to speak about how they perceived the war and what went on. I was really sad when I had to give this up, but they did hire some 20-something young girls from Copenhagen to take my place. So at least I felt that they had gone younger as they moved on. I don't think they lasted very long, because the last time I looked, they had an executive director who was doing exactly what I had suggested that they do, and that was to combine their executive director with their conference planner. So there wasn't this kind of push-pull within the organization. It was really great working with professors and seeing the, I want to say, the arrogance of them at times. We had one lovely professor who happened to be from Israel, who was a professor, and he brought his entourage with him, as we used to say, his minions, and they'd carry his briefcase, and they'd carry his suitcase, and they'd carry his shoulder bag, and he really wanted personal attention. And so we learned after the first time he was with us that we catered to him. So when he said, I need a car out front at this time because I need to get to the airport, we made sure that there was a car out there at the time, and he got to his airport on time. We got lots of kudos for being forward thinking and looking at what can we do? How can we make this easier and more effortless for all of our delegates, not just those who were like the pea in the Princess of the Pea bed. Moving on, I then went to a more regionalized organization, and Michelle, for you, it's CATESOL or CATESOL. It's the California Teachers of English to Speakers of Other Languages. Basically, English as a second language teachers. And they also ran the gamut from grammar school teachers all the way up through the graduate level of education. So when you have that kind of diversity, how do you plan a program that you make sure covers all of those aspects? You have elementary, secondary, and such. And it was fascinating to watch how we put together the program so that we didn't load all of the primary speakers on one day in an afternoon when none of the elementary school teachers could be there. And yes, that is what had happened before we started planning the program. I didn't get a chance to go internationally, but we did run up and down the state of California. We did north, we did south, we did north, we did south. And I said, how about Nevada? And they looked at me, why Nevada? I mean, what does that mean? I said, well, you say that you're California and Nevada English teachers, yet we never go there. We never visit that particular location. So they grudgingly agreed that we'd go to Reno. Had a great time. It was a great conference, just some minor things. There was gambling in the as you walked in. Oh, we can't have that. And there was smoking. Oh my God, no, we can't have that either. It was a good conference, but it had its toll as far as some of the people were concerned. We also did Modesto. How many of you know where Modesto is even? Yeah, we did Modesto. It was also one of those very unique locations in the fact that we were in the convention center. There was nothing else in the convention center but us. Even the displays were elsewhere. And the classes were in hotels that you had to take a bus to get to, or again, they were in another building or whatever. And literally, I and my staff sat around and twiddled our thumbs for most of the day because no one came into the exhibit hall. Once they'd registered, no one came in. So it was I would say it was one of the most boring conferences that I'd ever been with, but thank God we had our knitting and our reading and our embroidery so that we had something to do while nobody was in our room. The cool thing about Katisal, though, was we were at least 5 years ahead as far as location, having contracts, knowing where we were going to have various meals, where people were going to stay, that kind of thing. And those are really key elements in planning a conference that you need to have. And again, I needed roller skates in Modesto to get around town, not just getting around the site itself. The cool thing about Katisal was it was almost formulaic. You knew what was happening each day. So you knew you had speeches, and then you had the president's lunch, then you had more speeches. Then the next day you had speeches, and you had the box lunch, which was when the special interest groups got together, and then more speeches. Oh, and the business meeting and all of that. And then Saturday was designed to educate the incoming board. So we had these very clear blocks of time, and it really helps the conference planner to have that framework within which to work. And also we had a budget, so it was also really clear as to how much money did we have to spend and how much money did we hope came in to the organization and came into our vendors. One of the key things in both ISPP and Katisal was making sure that the vendors made money, because otherwise they wouldn't come back next year. And they did bring us a considerable amount of revenue into the organization. So some things I want to say about keys to success. First of all, a clearly defined set of goals and objectives. Without that, how do you know that your conference has been successful? You don't. A clearly defined set of roles and boundaries. Knowing when you've stepped outside of your role and you're mucking around in somebody else's field. This always distressed me as the conference planner when somebody would take a step into my world. It was like, no. You don't get to do that. You don't get to play in that garden. I don't play in yours. You don't play in mine. I also include having some kind of electronic project management software, or at least a spreadsheet that has everything on it. We had one time had one that covered a complete wall in our office. It's again a great way to see when are things due, how do they overlap, what contingencies do they have, and that kind of thing. I strongly encourage that. I also do something at the front called potential problem analysis, which is key to having set contingency plans and preventive plans beforehand. When you have a well-planned conference or just a meeting, it's amazing how much you can sort of sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself during the conference. Master Toastmaster. Mistress Toastmaster, Michelle.
sorry, I forgot. I thought we were going over to Kathleen, who is going to run the question and answer session.
Okay.
My head is spinning, Madam Conference Event Juggler. There are so many elements to thread together. And I was thinking that this was at a time when we didn't just push a button and get the information, when you had to actually fly and get jet lag to see what a venue was really like, and then to compare it to the next venue. Oh my goodness. And when probably the organization software was not the kind of stuff that you can even get for free at the push of a button these days.
Well, and Kathleen, we actually also had paper registration forms. Our registration forms were mailed to us and they had to be put into a database, and then checks and whatever needed to be deposited. So there was no electronics for any of the meetings that I did until Katisal.
Well, let me bring up some of the questions that we've posted here. And one of the questions is, what are the skills? You at the end started listing the skills, and what I was hearing at the beginning of the meeting is that you had to just imagine what it was like to be these various different personalities and to anticipate their expectations and their needs. And you must be extremely intuitive and organized, I would think.
Yeah, it requires a lot of organization. It requires a lot of the command side, the structure, the strategy, and all of that to be able to say, no, this is the way it's going. This is what we have to do. This is what we can afford, that kind of thing. But there's the whole creative side, which is the feminine, that allows you to flex when you need to, and to be able to look at a potential problem and say, what can we do here? How can we change this? What did we learn last year that we can carry over this year? So it requires that balance between the masculine and the feminine, so that, and the other thing is, oftentimes with the people that I was dealing with, you really weren't in command. For the most part, they thought they were. And so you had to finesse how you got things done, how you got decisions made, and that kind of thing. And it was really, really important to be able to balance that, not be overbearing one way or too soft the other. It's a great balance.
Rosalind's asking, do you still work on organizing conferences? And what would you recommend for selecting a conference to interested parties?
I don't do conferences anymore. And it's interesting because my last conference was with Katisal in the spring of 2019. So just before they went into the pandemic. And so they did not have a conference the next year, even a virtual one, although they've gone to virtual now. So the timing was, I don't want to say perfect, but it worked very, very, very well. I would gladly do a conference. I love the energy in a conference, and how it all comes together, and where are the rubbing points, where are the things that you need to be real aware of. And I also love the fact that you get a chance to teach your conference committee what it means to be a conference committee and to have a particular job or to have a particular role in that conference, and to watch them light up when their section goes really, really, really well. It's like, yes.
And then Michelle wants to know, how did you, while at a distance, while you're working in Europe, how did you identify the facilities and for the day trips and for the sponsors?
The day trips was actually pretty interesting. We actually used the hotel a lot because, again, you didn't have the internet for a lot of this stuff. And we'd ask them, so where would you send people? And, you know, you go to Dublin and it's, oh, you got to go to the Guinness tour. And then you need to go over here. And don't forget, you need to go to Trinity College, although that's where we were. Oh, and maybe you ought to go up and see, you know, the Northern Ireland side. Of course, don't forget that somebody's going to ask you whether you have a gun in your pocket. You know, and so it was that kind of thing. I went to Paris and I looked at various venues as to, you know, where we could go. We did a batmouche, so we were on the boat going down the river and watching the Eiffel Tower in the back. Barcelona, we did a lot of tours around Gaudi because there are so many fabulous buildings that he built, including the cathedral that is still not finished. So it was that kind of thing. It was funny in Boston that it was very, 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 very hot in Boston and humid. And the tour was taking a tour that they actually took twice. One is a women's tour. So various sites that were famous for various women and that kind of thing. And then one just a regular Boston and the war and all of that good stuff. And he comes along with his little red wagon and he's got bottles of water in his red wagon for the people on his tour to make sure nobody dehydrated while they were there. I just thought it was the cutest thing ever.
It sounds like there were teams of teams to put these things on. So there were the teams that were identifying who needed to come and why, and then your team that was scouting venues and organizing outings and so on. There must have been just an army of teams to pull these things off.
I had me and one other person.
Kathleen, I think there are two people who have their hands. Oh, no, I've got my hands raised. Is there somebody else who has their hand raised? I'm sorry.
I didn't realize you were not being a timer. Do you have a question?
No, I am being a timer, but it said there was another person who raised their hand, but I don't see them. Sorry. Oh, that's you.
Timers want to know. Well, we are at time now. We have come to that point in our agenda when we thank Ms. Linda for her regaling us with these marvelous stories of her rich experience. And we will take 5 minutes now, a 5-minute break before we come back for our next section, our speech section.
And maybe if anybody has questions for Linda, are you going to hang around for a little bit longer, Linda? Whoops.
Yeah. Yes, I am, but I'm going to take the camera down.
Oh, okay. So if you have questions for Linda during the break, this is a good chance to ask, and she might answer. And yeah, I'm just really intrigued by the organizational skills that are required to put on a huge conference like that. And obviously you were really, really good at it because they kept on bringing you back and having you do it.
Yes, they did.
Just thinking about those spreadsheets gives me a headache. Oh my gosh.
Well, when we started, we literally had flipped our paper all over the walls with, you know, with various portions and parts of the conference itself, which was also great fun. And then we look at them and go, okay, so what can go wrong here? What do we need to do to fix that? Who do we need to schmooze? That was the other thing, you know, become best friends with the people in the hotel, because they're the ones who'll make or break your conference, especially around mealtime. and if you need any special accommodations for people in the conference itself.
And did the organization decide which hotel you were going to do, or did you have to figure out the hotel too?
Had to figure out the hotels as well. So when I would go like to Barcelona, we'd choose a hotel, and then we had to usually get 3 or 4 others because not everybody would be able to stay in that hotel, and we need various price ranges and all of that stuff as well. In Berlin was sort of funny because I went in and they said, oh yeah, you're going to be over in this place because the tower over here is going to be closed, and we can't do your event up there and all that. We got there. The tower that wasn't supposed to be open was open. The tower we were supposed to be in was closed. So
How interesting.
yes. So it's like, what happened here? Yeah.
You had to be very fluid
Yeah.
and able to adapt quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much.
So I see that we have a few more guests that weren't here earlier. And I see Chriselle. Where's Isaac? You want to go ahead and, as president, speak out to some of the guests that have shown up since I think Nancy is new too?
Yes, okay. Here, hi, Chriselle. If you could unmute your mic and just tell us how you found out about us.
I'm actually a visitor today because I'm a friend of Rosalind Khan, and I wanted to see the details of her trip.
Great. Thank you for that.
Thanks for
Thank you.
coming. Good to have you. Yeah, we're looking forward to her adventures, hearing all about her adventures.
Yes. And Nancy, how did you hear about us?
Yes, thank you. I am in a WhatsApp group. I am learning English, and I saw the link, and I really like being here with you.
Great.
We like you being here, Nancy.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yes. And then there's a Lynn Durant. Hi, Lynn. Would you?
Lynn Durand is here.
Hello.
All right. There you are. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, gorgeous.
Hello.
So good to have you again.
Pleasure.
How are things with you in your neighborhood? How's the weather?
Thank God it's much better. We just missed Fiona, or should I say Fiona missed us.
Oh, that's a relief. That's a big relief. I'm glad.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac.
Well, we are 4 minutes and 24 seconds into our break. Should you want to
quickly get a drink of water.
All righty, well, that was our 5 minutes.
Are you going to go ahead and resume the recording?
It continues to
record.
record.
It continued to
doesn't it?
record. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would like to do now is introduce the timer, which is Kathleen again, to explain the timing cards for our prepared speech.
Rosalind's speech is 10 to 12 minutes. So you, oops, sorry about this. So you know what that means. We got 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes, and 30 seconds to wrap up, Ms. Rosalind.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. In this section, we have our prepared speech. from pathways to be evaluated. And our first and only speaker is Rosalind Kahn, and her evaluator is Sandra Edwards. Sandra, would you please explain the objectives of Rosalind's speech?
Okay, I will. Let's see, am I on? Oh, okay. Engaging humor, level 5. Reflect on your plan. Time, 10 to 12 minutes. The purpose of the speech is to present a speech that shares the experiences completing this path, including the programs made, the skills learned and developed, as well as a celebration of the achievement in a style that supports the speech contest.
Thank you, Sandra. I would like to mention that Rosalind has just returned recently from a 10-day excursion into Egypt, and she is going to tell you the highs and lows of this experience. Rosalind Kahn, I hope you're ready. 2 sides of Egypt, 2 sides of Egypt, Rosalind Kahn.
You'll want to unmute, Rosalind.
You know me and my grand entrances. So here I am. I'm all dressed and ready to tell you about my trip from Egypt. This is Egypt 2 sides. As I reflect on my trip to Egypt, I want to point out a few careful lessons I learned about this humorous speech pathway that I've in. And one of them is everyone has a sense of humor. You just have to learn where it's at. And so today I plan to share that with you. My other lesson is that I got to tell you where I'm going. So get your pencils out, write these down. This is where we're stopping on this trip. We are going to be talking about searching for Nemo. Yes, searching for Nemo. Next, we're going to be going ahead and talking about finding that there's an unequal quality about what they have over there and what we have over here. Second is being aware of the wolves. Next is learning about myself and dehydration. What does that really mean? And then I want to tell you about explaining Luxor, not Disneyland. This is the real Luxor. And last but not least, we're going to tell you about what's up and coming next. So buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. I'd like you to board the plane. We are now taking off for Egypt. We're taking off for Egypt now. Please make sure that if you need to take a mask, you put it on yourself before you put it on your child, and we are ready to go. So, first, I want to go ahead and share with you that things aren't always the plan that you have and that you set and that you hope will go ahead and happen. And so one of the interesting things on this trip was that I'm a morning person. I get up at the crack of dawn, and Creshell knows this. I'm up calling her at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. You ready to go running yet? You ready to go take an exercise? Well, you know, you have these patterns, and they followed me over there. Well, her idea of getting up an early start was 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then there was the, of course, I'm a planner. I like to know what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it, what's going on, what's happening. They were one of those laissez-faire people, you know, let's just see how it goes. And last but not least, you don't always get everything you want, but there's always some fun in between. So let me share with you some of the exciting slides of some of my excursions I had in that wonderful place. Now, it is my greatest wish that we could actually see this jewelry store here, because this gentleman here is part of Milano's and Sons. And if you want jewelry that's not just glued together, that's actually made by the owner himself, you want to go to Milano's and Sons. You will notice here I was sporting a beautiful scarf. This scarf right here was given to me by this lovely man when I went, and this is the piece of jewelry. In our conversation today, he said he wanted to get me matching earrings, a bracelet, and a ring. When they arrive in the mail, I'll let you know. he was saying how grateful he was to the quality of what he does. Now, it's great that this guy stands up for quality, but I got to tell you, I bought a pair of pants that were Egyptian pants, and they were really nice and cool and comfortable, but I got home and they already had a hole in them. I got a shirt and I snagged it on the door, and Egyptian quality has, other than this guy's store, a little bit to desire. I got a phone call from one of the friends that I visit, and she said, Rosalind, you know, the quality of Egyptian clothes isn't so good. You think you could send me some clothes from America? And I said, well, I have clothes, but it's the cost of sending it there is like cost prohibitive. So I start calling my friends, you going to Egypt soon? Aren't you going to Egypt soon? I was wondering if you could take some stuff. Well, Egypt is a country that has certain rules, and the band Kalimba, which is really popular in Seattle and plays the most typical sounds of earth, wind, and fire, didn't cut the mustard. So their trip to Egypt is postponed till December. Maybe that's why the diplomat was so hesitant to my talking to the people at the office here, but I went there anyway. I came back alive, and that interview, oh my God, you're going to hear about that interview. I'm so excited. So we're talking about quality here. Let me take you to the next slide here. Now, this, my friend, is looking out for the wolves. You see, I was told when I was at this destination, there were wolves. And so I couldn't go down and do my walks on the street. And so I had to suffice. Now, one of the things is I'm going to tell you about each of the directions. So if you look to my left, I would look out and there was this beautiful place over here on the left. And it was like these birds would fly out of the sky. And you could sit there for hours and hours and watch these beautiful, lovely doves. And there was chickens in there. So you got to hear them going, cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo. And then you're wondering, what is this, Rosalind? This was on the floor. Isn't this the most beautiful piece of tapestry that you could find? I mean, look at all the designs you have. You know, one of the interesting things is when you look at things that come from Egypt, you can almost create pictures of kings and queens and knights and armor and just beautiful things. Looking at the eyes of them, it was just absolutely gorgeous. As I looked out in front of me, there was this beautiful sun. That's the Nile. That's the Nile River. And this is some beautiful cement that was a decoration. I said, wouldn't this be a beautiful sunrise? And so, you know, just because the wolves kept me up here, I certainly had my day, because if we look to the left, I told you this was behind me, to the left were the fields of banana leaves. To the right, I saw the ovens where they baked their famous bread. And it was, you could look in the back and it was like you were in Death Valley. It was absolutely beautiful, all from the top of this building. And my friend said, you got to go to the top. Well, if I could show you some more slides, I wandered around this deck and there were some prayer beads. And then I saw there was a whole mass of prayer beads. And on my way down, it was kind of dark, and I rung the doorbell, and there was this 10-year-old kid, and he's going, hi there. And so when I popped in a wedding, there was that same little kid. He goes, remember me? Remember me? It's amazing what you find when you go out in the morning and you're doing your morning exercise. So who cares about the wolves? What about the wolves? So let's go to our next slide here. And in our next slide here, you've ever heard of that thing about searching for Nemo or searching for Waldo or something like that? Well, I was told there was a Toastmaster group there. And there was a Toastmaster group that was in Alexandria. And there's one that was in Cairo, really way far away. Now, interesting, my friend told me that in Hurghada, there was a building. Now, she told me that she knew that it was there. And we drove up the street and down the street and back on the street, and it was somewhere around there. So I had to show you this picture. This is me out by the pool with the sign that the lady from District 1 insisted I show you that I was in Egypt. So in case I came to the group, there's a picture on that side, which shows that I'm ready. You see that beautiful scarf that I have and that gorgeous cap. Let me tell you the story about that cap. That cap was really cool. I was at my local hairstylist and I looked in and she had this fashionable hat. And I said, oh, that looks really cool. And so she gave me this beautiful hat that was perfect for the sun and the wind and everything else. It might have needed a string, but it looks kind of stylish, you know, as a model to go ahead and hold it on your head there. But that was me on one of my early morning walks. You see, when you went out on the walks in the morning, it was cool. It was really nice. It wasn't the there, and it was just beautiful. I mean, many people think about Egypt as being an unsafe place, but there were plenty of police that were out there. There's only one challenge. If you wanted to ask them directions, they couldn't tell you. There was one day when I first got there and I had moved from one place to the next, and I decided to ask these young people if they could help me get to my place. And they kept on taking the phone and showing it to this person and that person and the next person, and the next person. I said, can you guys just trust yourself? You guys know this area. You must know where the building is. And little did I know that Egypt has a high illiteracy rate. So maybe they couldn't really understand what it was saying. And I finally got back to the building though, but I made sure I took pictures and I'd show everybody where I was. But even with the pictures of the place you were going, they had a hard time telling you where it was that you needed to be. So that was Finding Nemo. I still sent an email saying, did you go to the building in Hurghada? Did you get someone who speaks Egyptian to find out what that building is? Because there's not a Toastmaster group up there. And when I asked the Toastmasters, they couldn't tell me what's there. There is some building in Hurghada that has a Toastmasters International on the side, but God only knows what's there. I'm still working for Nemo if he can find out that for me. Next up here is, this is about dehydration. This is about dehydration here. You see, they took me to the temple of Karpus. And when I got there, they handed me this really heavy bottle of water. And I said, I can't carry that. That's way too heavy for me. So I go outside and I say, you know, it's 12 noon, 1 o'clock. And I was thinking I was in San Diego, that big park that they have there. And you have the indoor exhibit and you're going to go to the next floor. And I said, where's the next floor? Where do I go? And they're like, out there. You want to go outside? And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And so these are some of the beautiful things that I saw there. They're absolutely beautiful. I don't know where I was looking, but I saw this crack and I thought it was something to be worthwhile. They had these huge sculptures of these men, and there were supposed to be signs, but the only signs I got was the one telling me the one in Spanish. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. This was about the buildings where it got really hot. This was one of the great meals I have. I lived on garbanzo beans and oatmeal, but you'll have to stay tuned for the next story. And I'm running out of time, but you got to see the last one because, oh my God, I want you to see what Luxor is really all about. And so this is the free-for-all. This is what Luxor is at. And one of the most exciting excursions was to this place where I got to see this serpent climbing up. This is downtown Luxor. This is Luxor at night. That's the meal. That's the gorgeous carpet. And this was my favorite thing, going on the street and seeing the local vendors. And over on this side was the room I had, just absolutely breathtaking. So let me take you to the last slide. And on our last slide here, we have this one right here. You see, in life, there's always two perspectives. We could look at the things and we could look at all the tiers of what happened and what went wrong. But in all of them, there are photographs and there are pictures. At the bottom is a link about my interview with that diplomat. My name is Rosalind Khan, and hopefully through this journey, you've seen all the places and all the pictures to let you know someday you too want to go to Egypt. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rosalind. That was really, really engaging. And I hope you didn't get a crick in your neck going back and forth trying to get out of the way of your slides. But it was really, really quite interesting to see what that looks like. So now we move to the next portion of our segment or our meeting today, and that is table topics. And I would like to invite Rosemary Sweeney up. She is going to be our table topics master. And she's going to introduce some of her questions, and she's going to invite people to participate. Before I have her do that, Kathleen, would you give the timing for the table topics?
Yes, every answer is 1 to 2 minutes. And I was just trying to dig up the rather unusual time frame for Rosemary. She has a little bit of extra time. And if you want to, Rosemary, you can end at 32 minutes after the hour if you have that many questions for us. We do have a liberal amount of time this time.
Oh, okay. Or we could also have more table topics, but if
That's what I
anybody-
meant.
if
That's what
any-
I meant.
Okay.
More table topics.
Oh, that's what you meant. Oh, I thought you said Rosalind. You meant Rosemary.
Oh, I probably did. Knowing me, I'm scrambling. And that is not a good recipe. Me and scrambling doesn't work.
What?
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. So Rosemary, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the meeting, distinguished Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Toastmaster Catherine, may I please be able to share screen? My thoughts.
Most certainly. Most certainly.
We are going
One of
to-
us will help you with that.
Okay, we are in the table topic section of our meeting, which assist us to be able to think and speak on our feet. And I am going to pose the question and give 1 second for someone to volunteer. Other than that, I will volunteer someone. I'm giving you the option of volunteering. However, if it takes a little time, we are going to, 1 minute, let me see my screen. Basic. 1 minute.
And while Rosemary is organizing herself, I would like to answer our Toastmasters question, which is that we have 1 to 2 minutes for our responses. And that means green at 1, yellow at 1.5, red at 2 minutes with 30 seconds to wrap up.
And don't forget that the word of the day is expand.
I am unable to share my screen.
I made you co-host. You should be able to.
Okay. Share. Because I have the screen information, okay?
Isn't it just hilarious how these things happen when you're on the spot? It's
there we
I'll
go.
Bet it's 50% of the time that something screws up when I'm trying to share my screen.
There she is.
Oh, and I
There
did
you
not
are.
want to be in but that's how it went. Okay. I hope it goes okay. Let me see page down. Okay, our theme is inspiration, and we are going to remember the word of the day, expand. And my first topic is, it always seems impossible until it is done. That's a quote from Nelson Mandela. Can someone volunteer and kindly tell us what inspires you about this quote? I have names, so. Okay. Kindly
You see me?
Oh, right. Go right ahead.
Okay, this is Carolyn. It always seems impossible until it's done. What inspires me about the quote is the very word impossible. Through my years of growth and evolving in my thinking, I have come to see the word impossible to somewhat expand to a new interpretation. I am possible. It means that whatever the situation is, whatever the task is, instead of saying, I can't do this, it's a matter of stepping back and looking at it in pieces to see how each piece fits together and to go through the process of bringing those pieces together. And I find that I'm able to get all the way through to the point of success that I'm looking for. So I'm always inspired by this. It always seems impossible until it's done. But as I go through my process, I realize it just required me to pay attention to what I'm doing, to really focus on what I was trying to accomplish. And I can accept the fact that impossibility does not exist. We live in an infinite universe of infinite possibilities. My question and inspiration to you would be, what are you ready to bring forth as a possibility? Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much. And we will always remember that question. What are you ready to bring forth? Impossible can also be looked at as impossible. Wow. Our second topic, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue, again, that counts. Facing challenges while completing a task, what would this quote mean to you? Next person.
And you can raise your hand using the reaction button so that you pop to the top and we can see you.
Thank you. Okay,
Anybody? That's a great quote.
Okay, let me call on the distinguished Toastmaster Essie, our guest. Are you there still?
I am.
Thank you. That's the code there. You can just tell us, when facing challenges while completing a task, what would this code mean to you?
Madam Table Topics Master, I had the awesome task for 6 months to run Jamaica Pavilion at the World Expo. And when I left Jamaica in August last year for Dubai, all plans were in place because, as our keynote indicated, you begin a long time before to make all the plans and to make sure that everything is in place. 2 days before the final readiness test, I got a call from Jamaica. Half of my team would no longer be coming to Dubai. Wow. How do you face that challenge? How do you, as far as I'm concerned, that was it, because we had everything in place. How are we going to manage with half the team not in place? But this quote did come to mind, that challenges are there to stretch us and that we are to look at it as opportunities. Failure is not fatal because there's always an opportunity to find another solution. So yes, we do face challenges when completing a task, but it does not mean that we cannot overcome. We just need to look at things a little differently. We need to stop thinking, and I had to stop thinking that it had to be this way and find another way for it to happen. We happen to have an awesome group of Jamaicans living in the UAE, and that's where I went to for help. And thankfully, they were willing to come out and support for several months while we worked on getting other team members present. So yes, facing challenges while completing a task is going to happen. Life is going to happen, but success is not final. Failure is not fatal. We always, always, always can find an opportunity to go around. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much for this story you gave us, your story, and we can always find an opportunity to go around, just that we are going to be stretching ourselves. Our next, believe in yourself a little more. Tell us of a situation where you believed in yourself and what happened. Next, we do not have time. Toastmaster Cassandra, are you still with us? I see some people are dropping. Is Toastmaster Cassandra still with us?
She's still with us. Cassandra, do you want to take this table topics?
Sure.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Tell us a situation where you believed in yourself and what happened. Actually, when I joined Toastmasters, I always admired people that could stand up and give a speech. And so when I was offered the opportunity to come into Toastmasters, I was nervous about it, but the challenge to actually come in and give a speech, that icebreaker. And what happened, it was just phenomenal. Telling that story, that icebreaker, that first story about my life, who I was and what I was all about, that did it for me. I was nervous as I don't know what, but that icebreaker did it for me. And it was all about, I just couldn't believe something just about telling a story about my life, about how I grew up on 5th Street, about my relatives, about my sister, about just my family in general. Just a story about my life could just change the way I thought about public speaking. Just a simple story about my life. Who would be interested in my life? It changed my outlook on a simple story. Telling a story about my life would change how I viewed public speaking. And so with that, believing in myself, believing that what happened to me in my life would change the outlook of my public speaking. So that's what I believe, believing in me and believing that what I have to say would be interesting. Thank you.
That's awesome, awesome, awesome. And you must have had a powerful story in that it even changed you. If it changed you that much, can you imagine when someone heard that story, how they felt? We all have a story to tell, and it is a powerful story.
Thank you.
Our next topic, I know you can get through this. Expand on this. You encourage someone with these words. Toastmaster Lynn, are you there?
Yes, Madam.
Okay, can you?
I know you can get.
She's there.
Yes, she is.
No matter what the challenge, no matter what the situation, I know you can get through it. Every day I see persons visit the dentist terrified, but at the end of it, they leave smiling. That is because we have learned to help them channel their fear and go through the situation. Scary it may be, but nothing is impossible. Many times we face challenges though, and rather than thinking of the outcome, we focus on the difficulty that may be present at the moment. But I have realized that looking beyond that, at the object, at the goal that we want to achieve, makes going through that challenge bearable, manageable, and we can always overcome it. One thing I have always learned with clients is breathe. This is one of the best gifts that we have been given, the gift of breath. And breathing helps to calm the mind, calm the body, and allows you to think of the solution to that situation. So I know you can get through this. Stop. Take a breath. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much. With your other cap, Dr. Dura, I will be always afraid of that dentist. I will try to take that breath and block out that needle from my eye because it will always be there. But I will get through this with your words of encouragement. Our next topic here, what inspires you when you see these stones and the flame? Can Joe answer? Is Joe still with us? I know Joe was here.
I don't see Joe.
Oh, Joe left. Okay, so is Kershel still with us?
Yes.
Kershel, could you tell us what inspires you when you see this?
Yes, I am here. So you want to know what inspires me?
When you, yeah, so if you see, when you see that photo, or what inspires you?
Well, life inspires me. Every day I have a new opportunity to get up and be of service, to be of sound mind, to be to give my energy, share energy with people, and it inspires me every day. The sun inspires me. So just waking up and seeing daylight just gives me so much energy, and I just appreciate it and try to share it with as many people every day. Thank you. Do I have to go for a period of time?
1 to 2 minutes, and you have not hit 1 minute.
Oh, I have not hit 1 minute yet? Oh, okay. So I also teach Sunday school on Sundays to school-age children. And I find it very inspiring when my students come to class, when they show up. The number of kids that show up after COVID, the numbers were really low, and it's been an expansion. And when I see their faces and see these little young people coming to church and trying to get to Sunday school, it gives me a lot of inspiration, because if they can do it, I mean, they're getting a ride from their parent and however they're getting there, but to actually come and share their time with me, to be able to share my gifts with them, is also encouraging for me. Inspiring for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me share.
I want to thank all the people who responded to my little quotes and gave us what inspired them and their stories about what happened, which always makes me want to be at a Toastmasters meeting, because you learn so much. And our speakers, more than one speaker, spoke about breathing. So we should take that into consideration. Whenever we feel on edge, we should always take a breath and control our breath. At this time, my questions have come to an end, and I return the virtual lectern to our Toastmaster of the meeting. Let's make her feel welcome.
Thank you, Rosemary. That was an excellent presentation of great table topics. very inspiring. I loved your pictures that you used, and I loved the questions. Really, really inspiring and expanding. I would now like to invite our evaluator, Sandra Edwards, to come up and to provide us with her evaluation. But before she does that, I need Kathleen Peel to tell Sandra what her timing is.
Sandra, your evaluation should be 2 to 3 minutes. So that's green at 2, yellow at 2.5, red at 3 with 30 seconds to wrap up.
And so now we go over to Sandra, who is evaluating Rosalind Kahn's amazing speech about visiting Egypt. Over to you, Sandra.
Rosalind, that was wonderful. I want to go to Egypt now. That sounded really, really inspiring and expanding. Oh, and you know, I really got a kick out of the fact that the people you were traveling with were just, you know, they were living to a different drummer. So you're having a challenge with that, but you did manage to go running every morning in spite of the wolves. And so that sounded like you're pretty determined to keep the schedule going. But I know you learn a lot when you go out in the morning and run. And not that I like to get up and run in the morning, but I have done it, and I do know that it is quite expanding when you want it to be. Mm-hmm. So let's see, what else do I want to say? So all the stories were so wonderful, and you had those little pictures to go with them, but somehow it was a little bit confusing. Like I couldn't really grab onto some of them, but as much as it was great to hear you talk about them, they were kind of, you know, slipping past me. I wasn't getting the whole deal. So I guess I would have liked to see a little more clarity in the stories, so they didn't seem so confusing. Of course, that could be me, but anyway, I would like a little more clarity. And well, I think that's all I want to say. Is that enough time? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rosalind. It was a great story.
Thank you, Sandra. And yeah, thank you for giving her a good evaluation and pointing out all the fun things about her presentation. Rosalind, I would also like to see you play around with that slide share so that you don't have to move yourself into a pretzel in order for us to see it. And I don't know quite how you do that, although you might want to talk to Rosemary because she seems to have figured it out, whether by accident or not, I don't know, but that was pretty cool. Now I would like to invite our timer to give her timing report. Kathleen.
We did marvelously again. Everyone was within time, and I commend Keisha, Chriselle. I was very impressed with how you handled the challenge to pop into a Toastmasters meeting and speak and fit the time frame and give us something inspiring, something to believe in you for. So I was very impressed, and I'm very happy you've come. And
Thank you.
Everybody fit the time frames.
In fact, it seems that we are running fast. So we need to expand a little bit to fit the time. No, we don't really. Maybe we can even leave early. We always like that. We particularly like that about when Kathleen's leading the meeting. Next, I would like to invite our grammarian, Sally Reyes, to talk to us about how we've been doing with our ahs and ums and filler words, any gems, and of course, how we've been using the word of the day, expand. Sally, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Michelle, who has used it twice at least. I did have a hard time hearing on some occasions, but Carolyn used it twice, Kathleen once, Sandra twice, Chriselle once, Kathleen once, and I really loved Michelle's use of fluidity. That was a really cool word today. I thought everything just went along well. That wasn't packed with useless terms. I thought everybody really was interested in getting their point across, their excitement across, and I have to commend you all for doing very well, except not too many remembered our special word of the day. But thank you and keep it up. It was great.
Thank you, Sally. Excellent report. And that finishes our evaluation part of our meeting. And now we are going to invite our VP of E, our VP of Education, to invite people to volunteer for our next meeting. And Kathleen, you have a lot of time to put a lot of pressure on people, so go for it.
Actually, I have a list of people I would like to fill roles with, but I would like to ask you, who's coming, and would you like to be the Toastmaster of the day?
And would you say which date you're talking about?
Oh, yes. This is the 20, oops, pardon me. We're talking about the same time period, which will be the 3rd of October. So the same time slot. That's 2 weeks from now, the 3rd of October. And so, for instance, Sally, would you like to fill a role? Would you like perhaps to be the grammarian?
What if Sally would like to give a speech? Would you like to give a speech? I think it's been a while. Sally?
I don't see her.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
She's off camera and mute.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Carolyn, do you think you'd be
No.
able? Okay.
Not until later in October will I be able to do that.
I understand. I understand.
Thank you.
Cassandra, do you think you'll be able to come in 2 weeks at the same time slot?
You're muted.
I have to check my calendar, but I'll get back with you.
Great.
All righty. And please do. Please do. I miss you, hon. And Sandra, do you think you will be able to come at this in 2 weeks on October 3rd?
Most probably.
Oh, I'm so glad. Would you do us an evaluation, or there are other jobs you could do? Table topics, grammarian, a role of your choice.
Do you have your speakers?
Yes, let me just check on that.
Okay.
Pardon me while I just check on that.
Well, I can be a speaker. I can be a speaker, or I can do any of the other things.
Okay.
I don't, I like to do the evaluations, but I'm never quite sure that I complete the process. I never, am I supposed to send some significant thing to the other party or what?
You know, you can work on that with Cynthia. She has a way of getting it done that is effective and simple.
All right.
But I would like to, I think that there's a wrinkle, and that you could be a speaker if you would like, Sandra.
I could speak.
I'd love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I guess I would use one of the speeches I have. Does anybody have a request?
Well, I have a request, and I'd be happy to talk to you and figure out where you are in Pathways and see if we can get one that gives you credit, because we always can use people getting levels so that we can get our President's Distinguished Club. Award. Yeah, so maybe either me or Kathleen will give you a call and we'll see where you are. I know you finished level 2. I think you may have even started level 3.
Oh, I think I have started level 3.
I think you have.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Ms. Rosemary, I love your speeches. Would you like to, what role would you like to play on October 3?
Yeah, I could give a speech on October 3.
Fantastic.
Very good. That's exciting. Okay. And Mr. Isaac, what would you like to do? Of course, you're going to be our Sergeant at Arms, and would you like to be Toastmaster of the Day, Table Topics,
Timer,
Evaluator?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do the Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you. Okay, well.
What about Rosalind?
Oh, Ms. Roslyn. Oh, what about Ms. Roslyn?
Yeah, what about Miss Roslyn? What would you like to do?
Well, what do you have
Wearing her
left over for
turban.
me?
Well, I think we need some evaluators, yes?
Well, I suppose I could do some evaluation.
I suppose you could. Yes, thank you, Roslyn. Thank you very much. Thanks. You'd think I would not need help, but I do.
And Linda, are you going to be back at this time, or are you just going to sleep that night?
I will undoubtedly be sleeping.
Good for you.
I think
Really-
that's wise, my dear.
Really enjoyed your presentation today.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's good to be here.
Well,
Great to
now,
have you.
this is the end of that section. And now we do get to let Linda off the hook and into bed sooner than later. And before you go, Linda, I would like to ask, for instance, Cassandra, I would like to ask you about your experience at the meeting and what did you gain? What are you taking away?
Are you asking Linda or Cassandra?
Cassandra.
Okay.
There's so much that I'm taking away. I love everyone's speech. Linda's speech was awesome. So much that was given information-wise. I really connected with her speech because I felt that I'm working on my communication, revisiting my communication speech on there. And so I just kept going over and over how communication played such a big part to me, knowing all the different communication styles of the various people that she was interacting with. It just hit for me that portion of it, building relationships and understanding the various communication styles of all the people that she was dealing with. I just felt that that played such a huge part in putting together those conferences and understanding what the needs were of all the individuals that was part of the conference. I just believe that that was a huge part. So communication, understanding the communication styles, building relationships, like she was saying, at the hotels, having an alliance. Those people with at the hotel, if you need something, you have to be able to build relationships with all of those people, because she can't be everywhere. And so when you need things, having those relationships, people helping you out. So that was a big part. And then the tabletop, just the whole everything. The whole meeting was very nice. So yes, I'm taking away all of that.
Wow, Cassandra, this is exactly why I miss you, because you have a powerful, deep, powerful grasp of things. And what you just recapped to us was so rich. It was almost like a little coda to Linda's speech. I'm very happy to have you back, girlfriend.
Thank you. Well, it feels good to be back. I enjoy everyone.
Good.
I just enjoy it. It's a big family. For the guests here tonight, this is part of the Toastmasters. This family, it's like having experts in all areas of the field, and everybody brings something unique to the table. And so by being here, you're able to tap into everyone's field, so to speak, and you get so much out of it.
Thank you, thank you. And speaking of guests, Chriselle, do you want to tell us what your experience was, and if you are taking anything away from, did you get inspired? Are you expanded?
Yes, I actually enjoyed it, even though, I didn't expect to participate or anything. I work for Department of Water and Power, and we have a Toastmasters there. And so I have not participated in Toastmasters, but I participated in a science bowl that we hold. And I did try to get on the Speakers Bureau, and it will be coming around again for the Speakers Bureau with Department of Water and Power. And I will be trying to get on the Speakers Bureau, because what that is you volunteer to go into the community at different events and talk about products of the Department of Water and Power. So that's actually what the Speakers Bureau, is as a committee. But if I was doing something like that, I could see where Toastmasters could be a benefit for me. So
yes, it is remarkable how powerful a group support and this education program can make you stronger while having fun. So get to that group at work and visit them. And if you don't like it there, come on back to us.
Or if this is your better time for you, just come back here anyway.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited about it. I'll, like I said, I don't know a lot about it, but I'll read into it. Thank you so much.
Good. Yeah. You have clearly have a lot to give, a lot to offer. And Nancy, Liza, let us know, how did you enjoy the meeting? And are you taking anything away with you?
Well, I don't speak too much, but I really enjoyed the meeting. I love the Linda's speech. Really, I learned too much about her. And I really love can be like you, Linda, because yes, you think clearly and you speak clearly, and that is not easy. It's amazing, really, really congratulations, and nice to meet you, and nice to meet everyone.
How nice. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We are very happy to meet you. And Sandra, you did a beautiful job. You were authentic. You dropped the formula and you just spoke truthfully. How did you like the meeting?
How did I like the meeting? I thought it was great.
Oh, good.
Everything just sort of fell into place. And like everyone has already said, the speakers were all marvelous. And I didn't realize that I had broken protocol on this thing.
Oh, no protocol broken. Sorry, maybe next time.
Yeah. So I enjoyed the meeting a lot, and I'm glad to be signing up for speaking in 2 weeks.
I'm glad too. I'm glad too.
Looks like Linda is leaving, and that's great.
No, I have something I want to say.
Oh, you have
before I
something
go.
to say?
I have my hand up.
Oh, you do?
Call on me. This is actually from Carolyn Douglas, our district director, who says, to remind the leadership team that the fall business meeting is September 29th, and your club the representatives need to register on Eventbrite no later than September 27th for voting. That's the VPE and the president. Members can attend the meeting, but your club representatives will be the ones who are voting. Registration helps with the registration helps with the credentials chair and the election chair to be prepared. It's a very important meeting. We're voting on the budget and we're voting on the success plan. And we'd love to see you all there. Thank you.
You'll also
Maybe
find out what the incentives are.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the incentives, what the district bucks are going for.
Right now, we're going to follow what we have on the agenda. But, you know, what I can imagine is that Ed and Sally will share what some of the incentives are.
Great.
Yeah.
What does anybody happen to have, I think I can't pick it up real quickly, but if somebody could drop the registration link into the chat, then anyone who's interested in going. So this is Pacific time. It's 7 till 9 on the 29th of this month. So that's next Thursday, or this coming Thursday or something like that.
29.
And our wonderful Isaac, you tell you what, I'm taking away your music. You're so light and lyrical, Isaac, that you always just make the medicine go down so much better. You want to share? Did you have a good time?
I thoroughly enjoyed the meeting, and it was good to see familiar faces that we hadn't seen in a while, although they weren't able to stay throughout the whole meeting. So that was always a good thing. And I enjoyed the meeting. It went smoothly, as always. It's run by a lot of professional Toastmasters, I must say. And
yes.
Enjoyed the meeting.
Yes, thank you. And we can sign off, but I would like to ask Rosalind did you have fun? How did you like what are you taking away?
Well, it's always fun. As you know, as I said, there's normally someone else who does my slides for me, and she wasn't here, so I had to do it by myself. And normally she puts them on the left-hand side, and I was amazed that I was able to get the slides. They look decent, and on the slide thing that they worked. And it's always a work in progress, but good news. I talked to Rosemary Sweeney. I'm the type of learner, when I do something wrong, I want to know right away how I can fix it. So we're meeting on Wednesday. We're going to get this taken care of.
Oh, great.
But more importantly, I just wanted to share the story with you that every trip has its ups and downs. And there were certainly some interesting points, but it came out in a beautiful, beautiful way. And it was, I just want to share the joy when I was talking to the jewelry maker today, who just had these lovely things to say. And he said, you're just such a kind, thoughtful person, and in gratitude, this is what I want to give to you. And whether it comes or not, my husband was a naysayer, but just the thought that the person would say that. And I always enjoy getting that direct feedback, because I was trying to get organized. I told you where I was going. I told you to write down the points. That's what I was talking about. You guys just didn't take notes, and I was running out of time where I could have wrapped it up, but then I would have went overtime. And I remember Carolyn told me that I couldn't go overtime, so I had to make sure that I finished on time. I'm playing with all of you. You guys know it, but there was some beauty, and there were so many more pictures that I couldn't have shared with you, but you got a sense to see what it was like. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful country, and if you want to go to Egypt, I can get you some good discounts. I know a lady who's a tour guide, and I know a guy who there's a great show that I went where this guy stood and he did like a puree like a million times, and he had these lights that went colors around and around and around, and he'd unveil another one and another one and another one. And it was just such a beautiful thing. It's somewhere on my Facebook page that you can certainly see it. And I did put a link in the chat room that the big interview, just a quick aside, we have a couple minutes. It almost didn't happen. The lights went out in Georgia. The lights went out in Egypt as I was going there. And I had to pack in the dark. And I said, when am I ever going to get to interview this guy? And I came back home, and I didn't think I would ever happen. But it did happen at 2:30 in the morning. And so this big interview is running tomorrow. It's a 1-minute snippet. If you can see it, fine. If you miss it, it's going to be on YouTube. You can see it. It's amazing. He talks about ending extremism. And the key is through education, teaching people job, we can save animals and we can save trees. And so that's just a 1-minute snippet on it. And it's some amazing stuff. So there we have it. Thank you for giving me the chance to give a few extra tidbits on life in Egypt. So,
all right.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I love hanging around, but
you want to just check
really
and make sure there's anybody who wants to share, that they get a chance to share. I think most of the people here have, but just in case somebody's missed.
Good idea. Good idea.
Carolyn, I haven't seen you in a long time. It's really, really pleasure to have you here as part of our meeting tonight.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I literally had to make myself move away from another project because I needed a break.
Good for
So
you.
why not sit in on a Toastmasters meeting?
Awesome. That's fabulous.
And I think all of us are never going to forget, I'm possible.
Yeah, really.
I'm possible. Yes.
I love it when things start grinding away and grinding down. I'm going to remember that one.
Well, yeah, here's an expanded perspective on that. Sometimes we think we have to run away from a challenge, but your success says go through it. Just go through it, because there's always good on the other side. And you will see, I'm possible. It's possible to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
and I have to say bye.
Bye, Rosemary.
Bye.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you, Rosemary, for really an interesting table topic session.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, all.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Long.
Bye-bye.